Greetings to everyone watching this video. My name is Arturo Avila and I'm a student of Tech Milenio. The objective of this work is to explain and understand the event known as the Cold War, which was the rivalry and the latent tension that existed between the United States and the Soviet Union, both with their respective allies, after World War II. Although these two superpowers never declared war to each other officially or directly, both of them fought indirectly by developing weapons, in proxy wars and even in the space programs. We will dive deeply into this event later, but first we need to remember some crucial dates. The Berlin blockade and airlift on June 26, 1948. The Korean War on June 1950. The space race on October 1957. The U-2 reconnaissance plane on May 1, 1960, the Bay of Pigs on April 17, 1961, the region visit to the Berlin Wall on August 12, 1961, the Cuban Missile Crisis on October 1962, the Strategic Arms Limitation talks on November 1969, the Soviets' invasion to Afghanistan on December 1979, and finally, their unification of Germany on November 9 of 1989. Once we have mentioned all these important dates, we can start with this investigation. First of all, to what refers the term Cold War? As a general expression, it is considered as a state of friction and conflict between nations which does not involve direct military action, but is developed primarily through political and economic actions, propaganda, acts of espionage, and even proxy wars. Nevertheless, this term is most commonly related to the Cold War between America and the Soviet Union. Opponents fighting in a Cold War will often provide economic and military aid, such as weapons or military supports or advisors. This expression was rarely used before 1945. Some people credit Don Juan Manuel, a Spaniard of the 14th century, for first using this term when dealing with the Christian-Islamic Cold War. However, the term that he originally used was tepid, not cold. This misunderstanding was caused by a mistake in the translation of his work in the 19th century. Moreover, George Orwell used this term in his essay You and the Atomic Bomb, which was published on October 19, 1945 in the British newspaper Tribune. He used the term Cold War as a life in the shadow of the constant nuclear war threat. Furthermore, Orwell even referred to this conflict as the ideological confrontation between the Western powers and the Soviet Union. In addition, in The Observer of March 10, 1946, he also wrote that, after the Moscow Conference that took place on December 1945, Russia began to plan a Cold War against Britain and the British Empire. Apart from the use of the term Cold War and the sociopolitical limits that it imposed on this conflict, another crucial aspect of this confrontation was the economic system. During this period of time, the Western powers were capitalists and the Soviet Union was socialist. But what's the difference between these two economic systems? It's fairly simple. While capitalism is an economic system completely based on the private ownership of all means of production, which also involves the concepts of private property, wage labor, voluntary exchange, capital accumulation, and competitive markets, socialism is an economic system in which everyone equally owns the factors of production, which are divided in four: labor, entrepreneurship, capital goods, and natural resources. This ownership is acquired through a government democratically elected. Socialism vision is from each according to his ability to each according to his contribution, which literally means that everyone in a society will receive a share of the production according on how much each of them has contributed. Just as a fact, the one which ideas based the structure of the capitalism was Adam Smith. He used to consider value as a product of labor, thus operated under the labor theory of value. On the other hand, socialism was ideologically co-created by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels in 1848 and was first used in the Communist Manifesto, stating that his ideas were part of the so-called scientific socialism. In order to understand all of these concepts a little bit better, we searched for a specialist on the topic and made him an interview, which will be played right now.
Estamos entrevistando al profesor Héctor Cortes Sandoval, quien me impartió clases de historia durante mi segundo semestre en la preparatoria. Para empezar, ¿cuántos años tiene usted, profesor?
59.
Ok, empezando con las preguntas acerca de la Guerra Fría. ¿Qué países fueron los líderes mundiales durante la Guerra Fría?
La ex Unión de Repúblicas Socialistas Soviéticas y Estados Unidos.
¿Por qué los países que eran aliados durante la guerra se convirtieron después en enemigos?
Porque desde el inicio el objetivo de las guerras mundiales es repartirse las riquezas de los países del mundo.
¿Dónde ocurrió la Guerra Fría?
Tenía un basamento filosófico. Se supone que Rusia, la ex Unión de Repúblicas Socialistas Soviéticas, se basaba en la doctrina marxista, a donde los medios de producción eran de los trabajadores, de los campesinos y de los obreros. Y el basamento filosófico del capitalismo norteamericano era precisamente la propiedad privada en las manos de unos cuantos. ¿Por qué se inició la Guerra Fría? Una vez que se dividió Alemania en 4 partes, una parte Francia, Inglaterra y Estados Unidos para Occidente, para el Tratado del Atlántico Norte, y la otra parte para Rusia, empezó la Guerra Fría, que consistía en que no se iban a hacer la guerra directamente de forma militar, sino que iban a meter sus doctrinas para que los habitantes de los diferentes pueblos hicieran revoluciones y se adaptaran al sistema socialista ruso o al capitalismo norteamericano. La Guerra Fría fue eso. Por ejemplo, Vietnam del Norte y Vietnam del Sur, apoyados por los dos flancos, Estados Unidos y Rusia, luchaban entre ellos para ver qué gobierno se iba a quedar.
Ok. ¿Qué opinión tenía el público en general acerca de la Guerra Fría en ese entonces?
No entendían por qué seguía habiendo guerras locales. Estados Unidos y Rusia, después del conflicto que hubo en Cuba con los misiles, ya no quisieron armar una tercera guerra mundial porque esta iba a ser nuclear y iban a acabar con el planeta. Entonces sus guerras fueron locales. Por una parte adoctrinaban a los pueblos, en el caso de Rusia a los campesinos, a los sindicatos, a los estudiantes. Un caso específico fue en el 68, a donde pensaron que se podía hacer una revolución socialista. Pero tenemos, como dice Porfirio Díaz, tan lejos de Dios y tan cerca de Estados Unidos no iba a permitir que se le escapara a una segunda nación a Rusia, y mucho menos México. Entonces esa fue la Guerra Fría. Los gobiernos que se tendieron al socialismo terminaron siendo masacrados, y en su lugar pusieron a gorilas militares patrocinados por los Estados Unidos, y así se siguió controlando el capitalismo en Latinoamérica. Y por otra parte, pues Rusia, en su eje geográfico contextual, también se adueñó de los países, convirtiéndolos en socialistas.
Ok. Y para finalizar, ¿qué tipos de armas utilizaron o tenían a su disposición los dos poderes involucrados? ¿Cómo mantenían este control silencioso?
Pues desafortunadamente se empezaron a inventar las bombas bacteriológicas. En Vietnam se utilizó napalm, se utilizó gas hilarante, se utilizó anthrax, y utilizaban armas convencionales más adelantadas en tecnología que en la Segunda Guerra Mundial.
Muchísimas gracias por su tiempo y por sus respuestas, profesor.
Estoy para servirte.
Personally, I think that the Cold War, just as every other political and military conflict, was not necessary at all, although it was the beginning of a new era where wars were fought under the table. As humans, we are always seeking for more control, more power, and more transcendence, no matter what it costs. It's in our own nature. For example, capitalism and socialism can be understood as a reflection of this clash between ideas, which are always seeking to take control. I can see why capitalism won the battle. The most powerful nations on the world started selling this idea to the masses as a way of getting an individual and fair profit in exchange for workforce. Every country that has rejected this idea and instead adopted socialism, which is ideologically the perfect economic system, has perished due to the pressure imparted by the capitalist world powers. If I needed to select the one thing that completely ruins the socialism, it would be the human essence itself. What Marx and Engels did not take into account on their postulate was the wickedness of the human ideals and how this would cause a perfect society to incline towards self-destruction, like it's happening nowadays.